All right, this is Leo, and I will be picking right up from there on lesson plan 27, which is reviewing obligation. And just a little background here is so that after you have gotten the participant signature and that task has been completed, the review obligation task will automatically generate. A user has to have the FM or fund manager obligation approval user role so that for them to be able to review the contract obligation amounts on the documents in both Protrax and fund manager systems. So in this lesson, we are going to look at the review obligation task, review the agreement, and the participant documents. So to begin, we're going to go to our task list. And we're going to select the available to me. And as we can see right on top, after that last task was done, this review obligation task was generated. So we want to click on that review obligation task. And just sort of a note right now, there is a change that will be coming slightly different than what we're going to see demonstrated today. At this point, a Protrax window will open up. However, there's a change that will happen where it will be first just going to the document management section. So right now, we can close the Protrax window. In the future, that won't auto open up. Instead, we'll be going to the document management section. So over on our table of contents, we want to select our application number so that we're linked into the correct application. And then we're going to select document management icon off of our taskbar. So we're going back to the screen we were just in and uploading items. But at this point, we're actually going to be doing an obligation review. And so under the document collections dropdown, we can select obligation review. And again, this is a feature that's added with the desktop integration that sort of pulls up all the appropriate items that you would need rather than having to kind of search through the multiple pages for what we're looking for. So at this stage, we're now verifying that all the appropriate documents as applicable are there. So we can see the 1202 that we had uploaded, the 1155 with the participant and technical signatures. We have the plan and the map agreement. And then in a normal obligation review, there would be several other documents pulled up. Some are specific to the agreement, and others, as being demonstrated, are specific to the participant. So in regard to entities, the membership info is over here. The SAM registration is under participant documents, since those, regardless of the application or agreement, are always there for that participant. So now we have reviewed these. We see that they're there. We will be clicking through and looking at them, but in this case, we'll just click X on this document management module to close that window. Until the review module is fully developed, the task will not close, and there won't be an obligate sign contract task generated until the obligation is accepted, which is done through Fund Manager. So the next test script we're going to do is walking through that process manually before the task sort of process is built out. So the next step, to finish this out, we're going to log out of Conservation Desktop, and that'll finish off our lesson plan 27. All right. So in 28, we're obligating and signing contracts, and as was mentioned before, an obligating official is someone that has the Fund Manager obligation approval role in Fund Manager. They can accept and sign obligation documents. A user that approved the application cannot be the one that accepts the obligation in Fund Manager, and vice versa, the user that accepts obligation cannot be the user that signs the contract in Protrax. So the objectives here is by the end of the lesson, we will be able to search and accept or reject obligations. We're going to be rejecting an obligation, re-reviewing the agreement and participant documents, then accepting it based on what would be changes, selecting the obligate sign contract task, signing the contract through Protrax link, and then searching for the newly obligated contract. So in this script, we're logging in desktop as either Heather Hinson or Sean Browning. So for those who would be running this at home, you'd have to log in with these two individuals because of their user roles, which is the Fund Manager obligation approval. So we have their login information in the lesson plans. We do want to verify at that point that the user preferences are appropriate. I believe Heather's been herself, so for Sean, I'm not positive. We want to check that those user preferences do have the appropriate state and service center available so that when you search for your client, you will find them. All right, so we have them. As long as they're listed here, customers within those areas will show up in your search. So from this point, once we verify that that is there, we can go to our search magnifying glass icon. We're going to use the Protrax link drop-down to open up Fund Manager this time. A new window should open up with Fund Manager. At that point, we're going to select the Accept Reject Obligations link, which is on the right side there, from the Fund Manager processing. At this point, we want to put in the search criteria that will help narrow down to who we're looking for, the appropriate state, county, program year, and budget year. And then we can click Go. At this point, we're going to be selecting our application. It's just this one here. We verified that that's the correct one. When you click on the link of the application number itself, you should have a window open with some radio buttons to accept or reject. At this part, we're going to reject initially this obligation. That gives a justification or a reasoning there that we can type in any text there that would then go back of why this was not accepted. And once we've entered that text, we can then submit the rejection. At this point, the status is updated. On the far right, you can see that it has been rejected, and we can now close our Fund Manager window. We'll now navigate over to the task list, and we'll be selecting the Available to Me tab. And we can refresh if needed, but as we can see, this is rejected obligation is right at the top there. You could also filter if it wasn't showing. When we click on the reject obligation, actions, excuse me. So with this rejected obligation, we're going to go to the actions option. And we're going to select it to be complete. The reason here is if you click on the actual reject obligation task, Fund Manager is going to open back up. But again, there's some change builds coming that will alter that step. That will make it all within Conservation Desktop. That would have the user go in, make the necessary changes all within Desktop, within DMS and Protrax, before approving the application and obtaining the participant signature again. Just so for savings of time here, we're going to go straight to pretending the DC or field has already done all the necessary actions for rejected the obligation, and we're going to go straight to completing it. So once that task has been completed, it should be removed as we see it was, and a new task or another iteration of the review obligation task will generate. If we needed to, we could filter, but again, this one comes to the top, so we can select straight on that review obligation task again. This will then assign it to the user who's signed in. Once again, right now, Protrax would be opening, which is not something we need to act on. There will be a change coming. So we can close our Protrax window. Once again, select the application number that we're working with, and then that'll make the document management icon available for us to click on. It'll open up this application in the document management module. So from here, again, the document collection section, we can select obligation review, and that will pull together all the appropriate documents needed for obligation review. And this is once more under the two sections, one specific to the agreement and one that is generic and just to the participant documents. So we're going through these. We see that the corrections were made, so we can close this document management module. We're going to go to the search icon to get back into Fund Manager. So we click our search magnifying glass, and then using the Protrax links dropdown, we can open up Fund Manager. Go back to that Accept Reject Obligations link on the right. And then we enter the appropriate search criteria, the state, the county, the program, and fiscal year. And then we hit go to search. Our application should again appear here. We can click on the application number once more. The window will open up, and this time we can go to that Accept Radio button and hit Submit. All right, once it's accepted, it's no longer showing up here because it has been accepted. We can now close the Fund Manager window, and we'll log out of Conservation Desktop because we'll need to get back to our assigned user to continue the next steps. So once it's been closed out and you've logged off, we'll then be going back into Desktop and logging in with our assigned user. From here, we're going to once again click on our search icon button so that we can open up Protrax from the Protrax links, and then we can choose the approving official role. So open our Protrax, and again, this is a step that is unlikely that will be necessary. In most places, this is just for the demo that we have multiple roles and multiple accounts. So again, we're choosing the approving official, and then we can close our Protrax window. And then in Desktop, we can go to our task list icon. Once that loads, we can go to the Available to Me tab. And since the obligation was accepted in Fund Manager, the Obligate Signed Contract task is now showing up in the task list. Just a reminder, once the Review Modification module is available, that task of the Obligate Sign will generate when the review has been marked passed. So the filter tasks by Obligate and Sign Contract if necessary, this one shows up right on top. So we can click onto the Obligate Sign task for our assigned client. Now this again is a reminder with the change in module, this is opening up in a slightly different path. We have already accepted the obligation in Fund Manager, so we don't need this window right now. We can close the Fund Manager window. That was already done manually. And instead we're going to select our application from the table of contents. And then we'll have some items drop down. We'll choose the Manage Application from the drop-down options. A Protrax window then opens up. We're able to click on to highlight the application that we want to work in, and we will do Sign Contract from blue bar along the top. There we go. We have a window popping open, just giving us a message about the contract itself. We can click OK regarding the expiration date. Once we do that, we have another window to actually obligate the contract here, verify that all information is correct, and we can then click Yes to obligate this contract. Protrax then presents an information window just saying that the application has been promoted to a contract. We also note that it's no longer, once you can hit OK on here, and then we see that it's no longer in the application, manage applications. It is now an official contract. So we can close out Protrax window. And in desktop, we can go to our Assign to Me tab here in the task list. And click Refresh, and we should see, once it's refreshed, that the Obligate and Sign Contract task was removed as it has been auto-completed. So now we want to go and verify that this indeed has become a contract in the system. We can search using the magnifying glass icon. We're going to select the appropriate state and county. If you have more than one, you can choose from the drop-down if you have more than one assigned in your preferences. And then we enter the number, with the application number or contract number, as they are the same. And then once that's put in there, we can select Search. And then we can look through here and see that the contract, it's listed as a contract and the status is active. And now if we select the contract number itself, this was already loaded, but it would then load those items into the table of contents, including the client, the case file, the practice schedule, and the agreement number there. And those are added into the table of contents if they had not been previously loaded. We also then zoom into the area where this agreement has taken place on the map, and that finishes out Lesson Plan 28. All right. So the next Lesson Plan 29 is after the contract was obligated and signed, that 1202 and 1155 that were signed by the obligating official need to be uploaded into document management. So at the end of the lesson, we'll be able to select the contract signed task, upload the applicable documents, 1202 and 1155, into document management, and then manually complete the contract signed task. So from here, we're going to select our task list. And they're going to choose the Available to Me tab. And we could filter if needed to contract signed. This one's right on top here. So we can click on the contract signed task for our client. If not already loaded, this would put the client, the case file, the schedule, and agreement into the table of contents, and it should also then open a Protrax window. So from Protrax, we have signed these documents, and now we need to print and load them. So we'll go to select the print link from the dark blue bar at the top there. A window should open up, similar to you've seen before, on which documents you want to print. We're going to click on the radio button next to the NRCS CPA 1202. And then we'll click OK. It'll ask us, a prompt window will come up asking if we want to auto-upload this to DMS. We will say yes. And once that step is completed, another window will open to acknowledge that the document did successfully load to DMS. So we both get the PDF generated, available for printing, and a message verifying that the document was uploaded successfully to DMS. So we can close this document, and we're going to repeat those steps doing the print and auto upload for the NRCS CPA 1155 document. Choosing the appropriate radio button and clicking OK to generate the PDF print file, and we're going to say yes, we want to auto upload this to DMS. If there's a hiccup, the message doesn't come back. It will tell you if it fails. In this instance, I believe we got the message again saying the upload is correct, was successful. But if it says it failed for some reason, you can just generate, hit print again, and try again, or use the other steps we're showcasing on how to load a document to DMS. So we can now close this window here and close out of Protrax, returning us to Conservation Desktop. And now this is one we have to manually complete. So we have our contract signed task, and we're going to go over to the triple dot actions drop down and choose complete to manually complete this task. All right, we see that it is removed. It's been completed. So the next lesson plan, number 30, is regards to deferring applications. And background here, an application can be deferred where funds are exhausted, when an application has been received after the cutoff date, where an incomplete application was submitted, where farm records and certifications are not up to date, where eligibility was not verified, or when requested by the participant. The defer application task is manually created by a user with the state program user role. Objectives here, by the end of the lesson, we'll be able to create the defer application task, select that defer application task, search for an application to defer, and update the status of the application in Protracs, and then manually complete the defer application task. So in the task list, select the Managed by Me tab. And once that loads, we're going to click on the Create Task link, the little plus sign there. And then in this window that opens up, the task we're going to choose is Defer Applications. And we can pick the role that we want to route this task to. So from the drop-down, we're going to choose Program Support Assistant. That one's loaded there. And then we want to put in any appropriate comments. You could also choose to put a due date on it. If you don't, it just assigns it to the future. And once that has been entered, we hit Submit, the orange Submit button, to confirm that we want to create this task. And again, it goes to all service centers that are in your preferences. And so this just happens to note that this task is already in process for one of the service centers that is assigned. So it doesn't duplicate that task. You're not generating excess tasks to manage. So we want to submit that, yes, we do want to do it for all offices that are in our preferences, and it's just reminding us that there's already one for one of the service centers we're working with. Now we can select Search, and we're going to be doing this to change our role. So we go to the Search icon, and from the Protracs links, open Protracs. We're going to choose our Farm Bill Specialist role, which is the role we just assigned these tasks to. Once that's completed, we can close Protracs and go back to our task list. Once that loads, we can click on the Available to Me tab, and if needed, we could then filter. Defer here is right on top, so we can actually select the Defer Application task for whichever appropriate service centers that we're working in here. So you can see the details that I just showed by clicking the side arrow to open up more details on that. Gives you information about which service center you're working through. So the Protracs will open to manage contract applications. Again, a reminder, the order to do it in fiscal year, then program, and then state will just speed up the process a little bit. Once we're going to enter those items, we can click Go to bring up the applicable application. Yes, we did want to check on the pending in case there was a lot of applications. By checking pending, it'll just bring back those in a pending status. For states that have a high volume, it's really important to add those filter search functions so you have a workable list that comes back. So here now we can select an application, clicking on it to highlight, and then we will choose from the drop-down the deferred option. And then we hit Save, and we can that'll update the status of that application. Now, since we selected pending as a status filter in searching, this application no longer shows on the list because the status has been changed to deferred. We can now close the Protrax window. And then in desktop, we can go to the Assign to Me. We're right here, back where we were. And we're going to click on the actions next to Defer Applications. Once again, this is a manual task. So it's one that we have to go in and manually hit complete under the actions once it's been completed as needed. All right, and the next lesson plan, 31, is about promoting deferred applications. So here we have deferred applications are promoted in the next fiscal year for evaluation. The Promote Deferred Application task is manually created by a user with the state program user role. So in this lesson, we're creating that task, and we're going to select that task. We'll be searching for deferred applications to promote, promoting those applications to the next fiscal year, and then manually completing it. So we begin in our task list, and we go to that Managed by Me tab, and we're going to manually create the task. So we click the Create Task, little plus icon there, and then in the window from the drop-down, we're going to choose the Promote Deferrals task. We're going to assign it to our Program Support Assistant right there. And then we can enter a comment as applicable or a due date if desired for management in your location. And then we hit Submit. And then we'll get a window, once again asking us if it wants to create a task for all the service centers, and a reminder if this task is already in process. So this is asking us for all offices. There are many in the preferences. One of them already has this task, so that already exists, and it won't be generated again. We can then hit Submit to confirm that, yes, indeed, that is what we want to do. Once that step's complete, we can then go to the Available to Me tab. And if needed, we could filter. However, Promote Deferred Applications is right on top there. So we can select that Promote Deferred Applications for the appropriate county. I was checking that, yes, this is the service center we were just in with that application. So once we click on it, Protrax will open again to the Manage Contract Applications page. And once again, we want to go enter in fiscal year first, program second, and state location third. Just the order, once again, helps with the speed that Protrax thinks. And then for application status, we want to pick deferred to ensure we just get back the one application that we deferred or more if there were. And we can then select Go. This should then return any applications in a deferred status. So it looks like we have a few here. We can choose just the one we want to by highlighting it, clicking on that, and then there is a Promote Deferrals hot link at the top blue bar there. So we can choose that Promote Deferrals, and then we're going to promote the deferred application, choosing from the drop-down 2018. If it wasn't selected, it should automatically pick the next fiscal year, and the status, change status from deferred to pending. Make sure that checkbox is yes. We want to promote it and make it pending, and then we hit yes. And this then again, by searching by just deferred, once this status changes, it no longer shows up in our application list here. So we can now close our Protrax window and then select the Assign to Me. We're already right there. That's where we were last. And again, this is a manually completed one. So we want to go over to our Actions triple dot button, choose from the drop-down Complete to complete the Promote Deferrals task. And this will then be removed from the Assign to Me. It is now complete. That finishes up Lesson Plan 31.